Hey everyone, welcome back to the next Python tutorial. This one's going to be pretty quick. We're going to go over another common non-primitive type that you'll use called a tuple. And if you can understand lists, you can understand tuples. They're very similar, but there are slight differences. So again, we learned that the list, we can type in my list equals Jody, Susan, Mario. So that's a list. It's just a list of anything. It can be any type of data you want. It can be strings, integers, floating point numbers. We'll throw a false on in there. It could be Boolean values. The benefit of using a list is that you can change it. So like we have my list.append, and we'll append the name Bob to it. So what this does, it creates a list called Jody, Susan, it contains the values Jody, Susan, Mario, and the Boolean false. And this right here grabs the list and appends the value Bob to the end of it. So lists are what they call mutable, meaning they can be changed. You can remove stuff from them, you can add stuff to them, you can grab a value within the list and change it and replace it. Then you have something called a tuple, and it's spelled like that, T-U-P-L-E. I actually don't know what the word tuple means, but that's what Python calls it. And we'll just say my tuple. And a list we use with square brackets. Tuples you actually just use with open and closed parentheses. And we'll make a tuple that just contains like a bunch of fruit in it or something. And we'll throw like a number in there. Just like lists, you can put any type you want. You can put apple, banana, grapes. We'll do this. We'll make a variable called x. We'll throw the variable in there as well. And when it gets to this line of code, it makes a tuple, and it's exactly like a list. It's just a list of items, and you can mix and match types. But the difference between a list and a tuple is a tuple cannot be changed. Once it's created, you can't add anything to it. You can't remove anything from it. It's like stuck in place. It's locked. And you may be asking, like, well, what's the point of that when you always just want to use lists? And the reason why is if there's something, the example that pops in my head is if I have for instance, if I'm making a game and I have a file that contains a list of like color values, I might make a tuple called red, and it equals a tuple, and it's going to be if a color is red, value of red, value of green, value of blue, so it's 3 values in it. I would do like 255 for red, 0 for green, and 0 for blue. So I have a variable called red, and it equals a tuple, and this is like the actual RGB value for red. It's 255, which is full value for red, and there's no green and no blue in it. I would want to use a tuple for this because red is always going to be this. There's no reason for anyone to ever change it. So to kind of convey to the person looking at this code, oh, he's made this a tuple, it means this should never be altered. Because red's always 255. If I made this a 0 and made the green value 255, well, it's not red anymore. It wouldn't make any sense. So there's reasons you would use tuples and reasons you would use lists. And that's pretty much it. Again, if you want to make, if you want to know what like tuples can do, you would just go to Google and type in Python tuple methods. Docs Python. Here's everything. Oh, this is the list. Does it have tuples on here? I know there's a tuple page. I've never actually looked up tuples on Python's page, but I'm sure they have a documentation on them. Yeah, so here we go. There's like a list of everything you can do with tuples. So you can just go through here and read stuff. And also, if you want to, a lot of the stuff's real similar to lists. Say I want to access the first value inside this red tuple. You would just print red, and I want to access, you can access things by their index. So this should print 255. I'm accessing index 0 within the red tuple. So 255. So run. So 255. But like you can't do red dot append and append the value 5 to the end of it. This is gonna give me an error. Yeah, see, tuple object has no attribute append because you can't do that. And that's kind of why you would use tuples. Again, just like everything else, we'll make projects later on once we have a lot of the foundation down, and you'll see me use all these things, and if they're confusing now, they'll become more clear the more you see me use them and the more you practice. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.